Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to Blue Squatch Productions as we attempt to cover the Can Am and keep you up to date. They are working on a website, so hopefully we'll have more stats. We'll be able to keep everybody a little bit more up to date throughout the week. We're also going to try to take a chance and get with a program every week and try to dive a little bit into the history of the program. I know they're technically separate leagues with the minors and the juniors and then the Can Am Senior League, but all these programs are very closely intertwined. So we'll try to cover as much of that as we can. We really appreciate all the continued support, and please support the sponsors who make this happen or consider reaching out and sponsoring. We're also running a new membership program. If anybody does that, it can take the burden off some of these teams. Again, we really appreciate all the support so far. So we're going to go through the games this week, at least the ones that Can-Am posted. I believe this is all of them. So Allegheny Arrows beats the Tonawanda Braves 9-6. The new team, the Grand River Warriors, coming out of Six Nations, beats Onondaga 15-14. Then you see Onondaga beats Tuscarora 10-2. And this week coming up, you've got the Golden Eagles set to take on the Tonawanda Braves. That's at 7 p.m. in the Gilley Arena. And the Tuscarora Tomahawks versus the Grand River Warriors at Cornerstone Arena. We will be streaming the Tomahawks and the Warriors. We this week went to Tonawanda and streamed the Braves versus the Warriors game, and that was an awesome game. Had a chance to talk with Obes, the GM of the Warriors. Actually got to get up to Six Nations for the first time ever. That was really cool. Huge shout out to him for kind of helping me get in after I got to Canada. Made me feel really welcome. I really did appreciate that. Can't wait to see him again this weekend. A lot of big things happening with the Can Am. As we know, all these teams aren't together. So, like last week, you had Onondaga. I believe they lost to Grand River in a very close game. But then when you look at what happened the following day, because of the lineup and what they brought, it was definitely not the same lineup, I would imagine, that beat Onondaga the night before. That's kind of the way these things go, though, when you look at these teams. I mean, really, it depends on what lineup you can get, how you can travel. It's a huge commitment. I mean, I'm looking at the scores now. Yeah, 15-14. That must have been a crazy game. And then you see Onondaga the way they beat Tuscarora. I would imagine Tuscarora is still missing some guys. They have some guys up trying out for Senior A, which I finally got to watch my first game, and that's crazy too. That Senior A team I watched is an all-star team from the NLL, and I think they would probably beat most NLL teams and definitely would give an NLL all-star team a run for their money. So that was a really cool experience to get up and see. And you see the arrows. And I heard Allegheny has a big surprise for the first time I see them. We're getting to see them soon. I can't wait. Once the playoffs get rolling, we will be in full season as far as we will make sure. Well, we will do our best to try to cover every playoff game that happens in the Can-Am. Again, thank you everybody for the continued support. Enjoy the videos and let us know what you think. Give us some comments. That stuff seems to really help. Maybe some thumbs up in there. That'd be awesome. So we got Shannon Booth and Spencer Lyons with us. I have known you guys as Onondaga guys through the teams. I've met you through the juniors and through the minors teams, and it's been an absolute blast. For a lot of people who don't know, Onondaga was really my I guess, introduction, and somebody opened the door for me from your community to get into the Can Am. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. And I'll give you guys a second to kind of just, explain how involved you are and how long you've been involved with the program.
Yeah, so I'm Shannon Booth. I'm currently coaching the juniors and also helping with the seniors. We've been involved here since, let's see, over 20 years now. My son's playing men's now and started out coaching him peanuts, so it's been quite a long time.
Yeah, I would almost say we're kind of born into it.
Yeah.
My name is Spencer Lyons, helping out with the staff of the men's lacrosse team here in Onondaga for the Onondaga Redhawks. But like I had mentioned, this is a lifetime thing for us, and it goes beyond that even because of what lacrosse means. Not just to Onondaga and the OAC and Onondaga athletics, but also as Haudenosaunee people. I've been around the program since as long as I can remember, 3 and 4 years old. My dad was a general manager and the goalie for the men's lacrosse team, and I was like his tail. I was always there in the locker room with him, and I traveled with the men's team ever since I was 5 and 6 years old. And so I've been a part of the evolution of this program, and it's near and dear to my heart. And I'm always thinking about, how do we give back? Because really everything that I've seen from the OAC, it was always, lacrosse is what brings us to the field, to the box, and to the game. But it was always really grassroots and community oriented, right from the beginning, since I've seen, and even knowing that the elder generations before us, that's kind of what it was to them too. And so there's a very lengthy legacy that exists for the OAC and the Onondaga here, when it comes to who we are, our identity, our connections to the game, our connections to community.
Yeah, it's true. And just to touch on that, the evolution of this, when I was a minor myself, and also Spencer when he was younger,
And that's within the 20
we didn't
years.
have an organized league.
Right? You were only a minor 20 years ago, we're going to say?
Yes, only 20 years ago. Thank you. I mean, we've come a long ways. All these communities that are involved in FNLA, NAMLA, the North American Minor Association, that was formed. I'm not too sure on the date, but it's been here quite a while. My oldest son, he's 26 now, and he started out, it was there when he got there, peanuts, and you start there at 4 years old. So, but back when we were minors, it was get a game here, a game there, and there was a time when we were fortunate enough to go into Canada and play. So we would have teams, and we would practice, have practices all summer for maybe 2 or 3 tournaments to go up in Ontario and play.
Mhm.
And so where we're at today, it's really nice that, like you said, the evolution of our programs and our leagues here in Onondaga, or the leagues in the, throughout the NAMLA and FNLA. But here in Onondaga, we've grown quite a bit to have these facilities. This facility here, the arena was built. We actually had our junior team was in the OLA, played how many seasons? 2, 3.
Maybe a little more
More
than
than that.
Yeah.
So we were accepted into the junior leagues, the OLA Junior B, and so we built this facility to. I mean, it wasn't just for that, but it was one of the reasons why we had built this arena, was for that purpose, for those teams. And then that didn't last too long, and so then that's when we always have had the Iroquois Lacrosse Association, which is a member associate of Lacrosse Canada. That's what it's called now. It used to be CLA, Canadian Lacrosse Association. Now it's changed to Lacrosse Canada, and that's where our junior and men's teams play under the Can-Am. It comes under that, under Lacrosse Canada, and that's why our men are able to go play for a President's Cup, and our juniors are allowed to go play for a Founders Cup. So that's where how that comes from. That's our connection through these Canadian box lacrosse championships, right? And then NAMLA, of course, we have our own league and our own championships. But our boys also they're allowed to go play for what they call the Canadian Championships, national or championships, minor championships that have different provincials, have teams Ontario, Quebec, British Columbia, and then you'll have a team Haudenosaunee, or the name changes with those guys, but they're First Nations, Team First Nations. I think that's what they are now. That's what the team's called. But that's comprised of all or not Haudenosaunee, but Ongwehome, native kids. So our kids are able to go play in that too at that level.
All right, you got to explain that to me. That's the first time I've heard that.
For the minors?
No. What you just said, I don't want to butcher it and say it wrong. For native kids instead of Haudenosaunee, what was that word you used?
Oh, Ongwehome.
Oh, Ongwehome. That's what we call ourselves. That's the term we use for who we are. It covers everyone, all native people. Like we're Haudenosaunee because we're Onondaga. We're part of the Haudenosaunee. But we have, our sister and brother nations out there. We refer to ourselves as Ongwehome. That's our our word, or how we use in Onondaga.
No,
It translates as the original people or the real people. And so that's why it says it's very inclusive. It's just not, being Haudenosaunee, being Onondaga, being member of a clan family, those are all birthrights and hereditary. But when we use the term Ungwahua, it's more of a broad and inclusive term to describe the people, what we call, who existed here on Turtle Island pre-contact.
no,
Yep.
thank you guys. That was yeah, I love that. That's so when I kind of came in, I'm very late into this. I step in, I go to Onondaga for my first time, and you've got this arena, and I hear that this isn't even the nicest arena. Everybody tells me I'm missing out. You guys have a gorgeous field house. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I know we got to keep time short, but tell me a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, the field house was built as we were looking at hosting the World Games here in Onondaga on behalf of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And there was some design concepts that they really wanted to add to, and so we could keep the identity of being Haudenosaunee and people of the Longhouse. So when they went through the design process, they had that in mind, and they developed a field house that kind of resembled maybe what you could call a modern day idea of this longhouse. And they also had added concepts of they wanted a lot of open air. And so the majority of the walls fold up, they roll up, and it allows a lot of fresh air through there. And it's just a really nice place to play. It's a place that community comes around. There's a gym upstairs, and there's other things, and we have there's also the capability to host volleyball there. I think they fit like 3 or 4 volleyball courts in there. So the idea was always to try to make it more inclusive, just instead of strictly lacrosse. That's always a work in progress, is to create programming and thinking about ideas and being creative when it comes to how else to utilize it. The community has birthday parties there, and so it is kind of facilitating like a community center. But there's ideas of the future too, and what we might be able to do with it as well, and continue to try to grow that space into something more, I think, is the future goals of it. Just like the arena here, we have hockey, but it's all about like how can we continue to be who we are within these spaces that we have invested in for the community.
Yeah, no, that's something you guys have done an excellent job, and it really segues great into what I wanted to ask you next, which is, you talk about how the sport is different from the medicine game, but how the game brings you guys together, and it's really a sense of community. And when you go to junior seniors, it's like a day where the whole family kind of travels, and like the kids play, then they get to watch mom and dad play out on the field, but everybody is just a part of it. It's such a cool experience. And with that, I call it the Onondaga style of play. I think the epitome of that is watching Lyle Thompson. It's that backyard creativity. I'm having fun while I'm playing. It's not I'm just out there to win. It's about treating the game with respect, enjoying the game, and that's kind of how I think so many of the players that come from there. You can almost look at a guy and be like, "Oh, that's an Onondaga player." He's a hard two-way player. He's very creative with the ball, and as long as somebody out there has played with him before growing up, it's like an unspoken, just really cool flow, like flow state type game.
Sure. And I, for myself, like, I just don't think that is a personally just the Onondaga style. I see that as an overall Haudenosaunee style. And I think a lot of it goes back to, you know, growing up in a time where our communities didn't have a lot. And now that we're moving into different spaces, as the future continues to unfold, I mean, I remember growing up, and that's all you had was a ball and a stick, and that was the first thing you did. The grass was still wet. There was dew on the ground. The first thing you did was play a backyard game. And then we would play, go swimming in the creek or play in the water and go do whatever, playing as kids. And then the last thing you did, we would play until you couldn't see the ball at night. And honestly, I think some of the best lacrosse and some of the most amazing things, it always happens in the backyard. And that's what translates on the floor. That's how these things, it's just, we don't think about it anymore. It just becomes second nature because that's what we do in our off time. That's everything that we do. And it was sometimes the only thing. You just plays lacrosse all summer, and even you're playing lacrosse before you even go to practice, right? Right. And it's a backyard game. You're growing up with cousins, and as far as the community aspect, like I said, I've been around the OAC, and I remember when we were playing outside at the box, and those Friday night lights hit, and the lights turn on, and the community knows there's a men's game. Like everyone would come out, and it's this really awesome feeling and thing to see it. And sometimes when being a younger person, you don't really know what that means. Like you feel it and you're in it. And then to have that retrospect and look back and see, like, there used to be cars that would back up and they would sit in the beds of their trucks, and everyone's standing around a chain link fence and wooden boards. And to see our men like getting ready sometimes even before we had locker rooms, they'd be outside under the tree.
In a tree.
Yeah,
Old pine tree.
yeah. And then they would take their between periods, they'd be over by the Hemlock Creek. And like, those types of things, you look back and there's just this certain nostalgia that happens, and it's really humbling to think about our roots and never lose that sense. Like that sense still exists. There's a lot of pride when it comes to lacrosse and creativity and that free flow play that exists in all territories for the Haudenosaunee.
Absolutely. Yeah, you go down, you come down here, any almost any night of the week, and our box is still down there, our outside box, and you can see the lights, as you're coming down, the lights are on and the kids are there. And I live in the center of our community, in the middle of our village there, and not too far from the box, and you can hear that ball at night, every night. Someone's, the boys are down there playing. And like you said, it's all Haudenosaunee communities. You could probably go right through any reserve, any territory, any community within the Haudenosaunee, and you look in somebody's yard and you see a net. I guarantee you there's going to be some dirt around that net, not just going to be nice grass, right? And then that says a lot to what the sport means to our people.
And a lot of holes in the top of the net.
Yeah.
Holes in the corners. Holes in the corners. Yeah, probably some windows broken if they're close, right? I mean, it's and it's really it's kind of, you think about it, how ingrained this is into our communities, right? Because we're very close with all these other communities, and so we all know each other, and obviously through this game and through other things that we have different celebrations that we share with other communities. But this is one thing that always brings us together, and our style of play. Like you talked about how different that is. It's pretty it's pretty obvious through our guys, the way they play on all communities, all the Haudenosaunee, right?
Yeah.
It's just
My
something to develop.
my introduction to it though was just so everything I've experienced when it comes to Native American culture has all been Onondaga first. They have been the ambassadors that bring it to me essentially. So I first went to college, had a guy that couldn't really coach my high school team, super nice guy. Without him, I never would have been able to play lacrosse. Then we get to a fall ball tournament in SUNY Poly, and Jeremy Thompson takes the first face off and runs past us all like we're standing still and scores. And I was like, what just happened? Like, how did that? And then, so years go by, I get into all this. Ron Cogan calls and says, hey, will you come out and do the stick makers tournament? So again, Onondaga is my first introduction. Neil Powell,
So that was your
Ty
first
Hill.
tournament?
That was the my first invite to Onondaga essentially. So I had been there once before to film the Yeti play the Eels, but my first like invite from the nation itself was definitely that stick makers tournament. I told him, I said, I only got a $60 camera. I wish I had a nicer camera, man. That would have been sweet, but I'm so glad we made it out there to capture as much of that as we did. And you guys talk about that. So the whole community, that's one thing. So Ty Hill and Alex Cook kind of explained to me growing up, those facilities are always open. They're not used to kind of some of these other communities where you show up and it's like, well, you didn't rent the facility, you can't play. Basically, at the field house and stuff, as long as there's people there and you got your helmet on, you're kind of allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain point, right? Like we got teams that go down there and, they'll take the time slots for their practices. The girls will practice, their softball down there. So, I mean, if no one's using it, definitely it's open for the community, for guys to go walking in and play. And, that's kind of how it is with the field house, right? And that, like I said, we got the outdoor box, and honestly, that place there's guys there all the time, all day long. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
for
it is, that
no
is true.
snow on the ground and they're outside. As soon as the snow is gone,
Right.
they don't care if it's still muddy or what. As soon as the snow is gone, they're
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
in the box and they turn it into a dust bowl by the end of summer.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, call it the Dust Bowl, because that's what it was back in the day when Spencer was talking about those games when our men played down. That was all we had, right? And we if there was maybe some weather coming in that maybe they knew about, they would rent a facility over in Camillus, Shove Park. So our guys had played out of there for a number of years, if they had to. But that Dust Bowl, the box that we had, man, it was a beautiful thing, those night games like that. And there's actually a picture. I gotta send you this picture. Somebody took a picture of one of the games back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Early
Yeah.
90s. And man, it's an awesome picture because it's at night and it shows all the cars and all the people standing around the box. I mean, there was a really good crowd there, like there always is for games. But it's just kind of like a testament of how things were through all those years, right? Like what we were talking about, what we remember when we were young, watching those guys play down there, So
That was Mike Greenlauer. Mike
oh,
Greenlauer
Mike took that picture.
he came around as a photographer, and he's almost like he is a part of our lacrosse community, and he even comes out for stuff that's non-lacrosse related, but he's been around the OAC taking pictures of our lacrosse program for a very long time, and I do call him a friend, just because I've known him since I was a kid, and I think it was me and Wade who actually walked him to the top of the hill behind
take
where
that picture?
where
Oh,
the current
wow.
field house is.
Oh,
There used to
wow.
be a little path up the side of the hill, and I want to say it was one of the playoff games to decide, what was going to happen, and it might have been the year that Onondaga won the league down there.
93, the first time. That was the first time we went to President's Cup.
It was huge. It's
a
again
big
just
deal.
looking back,
Yeah.
looking at those things like that. And I even remember when we had local guys come out and they put up the lights. I remember being around, and we had local electricians who did that kind of work, and everything was just volunteer. They just did it for
Maintaining the box every year. The guys would be out there, all the players and the fathers, they'd be over there replacing boards and cutting the grass, filling holes. There was a lot of work that the community always had put in, right? And it's still that way today, right? It still takes a lot of work, takes a lot of people to get behind our programs here with our minors and our juniors and men to keep it going. So we're really grateful for that, for the community, the way that they come out for us, right? But like Spencer said in the beginning, this is something that's been given to us. We're kind of born into it. It's been here for years. We got these pictures on the wall, and it's a lot of history here that we're proud of, and instill that into our younger guys coming up, and they see it too. They know they all come from these families, right? So it means a lot to us.
Yeah, and one thing, so I want to make sure we get this in before your laptop dies. So I did a 5-minute clip that's going to play simultaneously with this guy. So you guys won't get to see it until you watch the episode. But essentially, Lyle Thompson, when I was doing a 5-minute interview with him, he said his proudest championship, or definitely one of them, was the President's Cup with Onondaga, because it was just a group of homegrown guys, family and friends, getting to play with all the adults that he looked up to as a kid, watching him play. I'm sure getting to play with his brothers, and I mean, that's got to be amazing to hear. As you guys are still part of the community, I mean, that guy's been everywhere now. He's played
Oh, really?
everywhere, and to hear him say that to me, it kind of gave me goosebumps, because I'm like, wow, that is cool.
Oh, that's huge, right? Coming from Lyle, right? Like that, all his accolades, everything he's, like you said, everything he's won already. But I think that's just goes back to how strong the community ties are, right? With having that pride to play for your team and play with your family. So, it makes a lot of sense that that would be right up there with him, because you don't get to do that too often. you know, that not only just to get there, but then to win it, you know, to actually win a President's Cup. That's any championship's hard to win, right? That President's Cup's it's been difficult. And, but for him to be proud to have that as one of his, most memorable, I mean, that's wow, right? That's big time. But I can see why too, right?
All right, so we've got Lyle Thompson. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. You played in Onondaga at the for the Can Am, and you guys won the President's Cup. What was that like? You know, being born there, seeing how small the town is, and going up and competing against Canada's best.
It was honestly probably my favorite championship, just because, you know, growing up in Onondaga, getting to play with sort of a lot of people I grew up watching, and then just, you know, putting a team together. A lot of the teams you play against are, you know, they spend a lot of money to put those teams together, and then to get out to British Columbia to compete. But, you know, for us, just a community team come together, guys I grew up playing with. So it was a special championship to bring that championship back home.
Absolutely. Is that kind of what it feels like when you're representing the Haudenosaunee Nation in the Nationals? I mean, because you're taking on all these big money programs like the USA and Canada are huge money markets, huge athletic talent pools. I mean, obviously it's the next step up, but it just occurred to me as you were talking about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the challenges, and coming in, usually feeling like an underdog, right? So, like everyone says, like we have the talent in our communities. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together and getting a group of guys that are fully committed to playing as a team and winning a championship. I think we had that in Onondaga the year we won President's Cup, and you know, going up against Canada, US, that's a big challenge.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you followed in the footsteps of so many other greats in front of you to go from a small town, use your lacrosse skills to kind of get yourself into a school and to really raise awareness about Indigenous culture. I mean, what is that, looking back at it now, did you ever think you would reach as many people as you have?
No, I think, you know, I think one thing is just sort of the stars aligned, right? So I think for me, I came into the lacrosse world in an era where that transitioning was happening, and I happened to be one of the spokespersons for our people and to share what this game's all about. You know, I'm not the first one to do it. We've been passing this on. A lot of the knowledge and the values of the game of lacrosse have been passed down for centuries and for millennia. So, you know, it's nothing new to us. It's just I happen to be in the spotlight at the right time, to be that sort of spokesperson for our people. And I had to grow into it. You know, I grew up a really quiet, shy kid, and you know, having those conversations was never easy for me. But I always understood the values and everything the game brought, where it comes from, how it's all about respect and you know, growing your mind, you know, using a good mind and having fun while you're doing it. I think that's where all the medicine is. That's where all the teachings are. So, you know, I was able to learn from my youth coaches, my brothers, my parents, my grandparents, and was sort of just felt like a vessel, you know, to pass that information on.
That's awesome. So, I mean, to every kid that's out there in these small towns, what would be your main message for them to be able to, you know, aspire? If somebody wanted to follow in your footsteps, what would be the main message to the young kids?
I would just say find your passion and be authentic. You know, those two things are really important. I think when you can find your passion at a really young age, so many good things come for you as an individual. And it's not all lacrosse, right? Not everybody's thing is lacrosse, but I think once you find your passion and you understand what it is that you like, and you can share what you like with the rest of the world, that's where it becomes your purpose, because you're doing something bigger than yourself. You're sharing something bigger than yourself. And usually it comes with a lot of wisdom and information that you're passing on. So, and then authenticity is huge. You know, I was lucky to be surrounded by a similar energy that I had, where it was you know, a lot of play, a lot of just have fun. It wasn't always lacrosse, but it allowed me to be authentic and to stay on my path. So, you know, like I said, the stars sort of aligned for me to be able to, you know, walk this road that I've been able to walk on, and do it in a good way. So I would say be authentic and find your passion.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Can see why, because it does. It means a lot to us to be able to go back and play with, you know, come home and play with your relatives, your family, and the guys you looked up to growing up, right? Because that's how it is. These kids here today, same thing. They're sitting here watching these seniors and juniors play. You know, can't wait to get in their position to play with those guys. You know, and we've all been there through our careers, right? Everyone that's coming up through our programs. Everyone has their favorite, right? Everyone's got their favorite guy. They have their style like that, right? Like right now here, you know, we probably got 100 Lyles running around, everyone trying to play Lyle style, right? So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. That is.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, so another thing that has kind of been brought to my attention more recently is that the Haudenosaunee considers themselves ambassadors of the sport to kind of take it out and spread it. So, I mean, that being said, the things that you guys don't necessarily see, like getting Neil Powless on that NABLL team, and he's taught, you know, 50 guys in Utica now and another 40, 50 kids in Utica. And then that started the team in Thousand Islands. And now they've got a bunch of Aquasasne guys up there playing with Nate Jobson and the Thousand Island Spirits. I mean, the generation right ahead of you guys that really kind of started getting you on the national stage and getting into the international play. I mean, how does it feel for you guys to one get to experience all the hard work that your elders put in to get you on that international stage, and now to see it grow even beyond just a few countries in the international stage to other countries are coming in, and you guys have passports that get you, you know, that are accepted all over the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a fight. It's
Sure.
still a fight, and they did. Our elders, our ancestors, you know, they've been putting this work in for years to get us to where we are, and you know, the wins are obviously really, you know, that's gratifying for us to be in these positions, but we still have a lot of work to do because there's some
Sure.
places that we're not allowed in, right? So, you know, to say that our passports can get us everywhere, they can't. We're still working on that. So it's still a battle, still a fight that we're still fighting now. But you know, to answer what you said, the gratitude that we have to them, you know, obviously
Mhm.
it's huge, the work that they've put in, and you know, there again, you know, we're very proud of all the work that they've done to bring us to this place that we are now. You know, there was a number of people who were involved in that, number of people from all these communities, right? Coming together, and that shows the strength of our people, right? And our programs, the Haudenosaunee program, that where it's at now is the work of all these people from these different nations, and you know, we are obligated to pick that work up to keep moving forward, right?
Sure. Yeah. And I think back to even about the game and what Shannon was talking about earlier, and this concept of inclusivity and unity. Those are founding principles of who we are as Haudenosaunee people. Those are principles and values that are instilled in us as we guide ourselves still as a sovereign nation here in Onondaga under the great law of peace. And so we have this traditional governance and these principles and values, they exist for us. And that's kind of fundamentally who we are. And so we are giving this, we try to be inclusive as possible when it comes to who we are, and sharing what we believe in, and perpetuating what we say Scano is, perpetuating peace as Haudenosaunee. And the lacrosse game has served as a vehicle to help us with some of our political issues and our fight for sovereignty. And I think when it came to the evolution and the creation of the Iroquois Nationals, and then I'm so proud and happy that they're now calling themselves the Haudenosaunee Nationals. That was always the intention, that this would be a vehicle to help with those issues of sovereignty and pushing our sovereignty and our right for self-determination And so there is groundwork that was laid by those guys, and this continues. And that's what continues. And really, none of this happens without allies. Having allies and political allies, and that comes from creating relationships with the game. We know what the game means to us, and people see how genuine our relationship to the game is, and they see how genuine we are when we try to be inclusive and bring that. And so it's almost like sometimes it's tough because we look at what recently happened. It happened in Birmingham, and for the Haudenosaunee to be even considered to be excluded from something that is has indigenous roots and something that we are tied to fundamentally, and something that we use as a utility to unite others, and how inclusive we try to be. And so, yeah, there is a responsibility.
Shout out to Ireland for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Ireland.
Like I said, like
Oh, wow.
these things don't happen without allies.
Yeah.
And we continue to, we'll always continue to advocate for ourselves and be inclusive to other communities, lacrosse communities and non-lacrosse communities. If we can help build the game, that's what we do. And it really comes down to the right of self-determination. And that's what we're always going to do, because that was a gift given to all people. And again, that goes beyond, that's a human right to be, to have that. And that's what we're always going to push for, is strengthening who we are as Haudenosaunee and making sure that we have a place here on Turtle Island and in the world when it comes to protecting our identity as Haudenosaunee people for the generations still coming forward.
Yeah, I think you guys have done an amazing job using the sport and the attention that it's grabbed to do it. You just take something simple like the Every Child Matters campaign that you would think it's just a hand, but when you get people actually diving into the research of that, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a lot more than just a handprint. You know, there's a whole story behind that. So using the sport, and now you talk about the Birmingham thing. I don't know what that is. I'll have to go research that. So there's one more thing I'll be educated about. Every time, it doesn't seem to fail. Anytime I talk to anybody who is, I'm not going to say older, but I will say, you know, around my age, or maybe been around a few years past me, the amount that I learn historically with the treaties, just talking about the treaties, like I had no idea. I'm from 2 hour, 2.5, 3 hours away maybe from Onondaga, and to not
You're not
know.
gonna find that in your school books, right? They don't wanna, you know what I mean? And it's understandable, right? There's an ugly history there.
There's
You know,
a lot of ugliness, and just learning,
Sure.
getting to go
but we're
through.
still here, and that's what it comes down to, right? And that's what we like to, you know, we're still here, and that has a lot to do with what the Haudenosaunee Nationals represent too, is showing, letting people know around the world that indigenous peoples are still here. Ungwahuma people are still here on Earth. They don't, a lot of people, they tried to exterminate us. That's bottom line, but we're still here. So
Yeah, I mean, they
that
literally.
has a lot to do with it going around the world.
You had a one of the biggest things I learned out in Salamanca in the museum was that all the traditions were passed down orally. It wasn't a written thing. It's just
Right.
part of it. It was all that. So when you take away the language through those boarding schools, you did so much more. You're not just losing a language, you're losing. It's like when you speak, anybody who speaks more than one language understands that you're thinking in a different language when you're talking there. Everything's in different orders, it has different feeling, different meanings. So to take that away, or to try to take that away from a people when all their tradition is tied up into it, it's so much more than just taking the language. You're really taking a lot. And then you look at like Duolingo, who has thousands of languages on it, and I still can't find an indigenous one. I'm trying. I look.
No.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of like us being aware of our situation, and even using lacrosse. And I don't even think it's using, I think it's just us being who we are and who we were intended to be, because lacrosse is cultural and traditional for the Haudenosaunee. And so it just has opened so many doors on the other end of it, and we made so many friends. Like, but you found your way here through lacrosse, and how many other relationships were forged through this game. And it's exciting to see, because we know the future of lacrosse is growing. Like you mentioned, how many more countries across the world are playing lacrosse now, and how many more countries across the world are engaging at the world level on a global scale. And it goes, like Shannon had mentioned, it goes beyond it. We're not just speaking for Indigenous or Haudenosaunee people, but it's all people that have maybe be underrepresented in any kind of platforms. It's just bringing awareness. And the more that we can share our own culture, and like I'd mentioned, people see how genuine it is, it just opens doors and starts conversations that can go in so many different places.
Thank you guys so much. Honestly, without the Onondaga community and the Onondaga Redhawks, Rod and Kogan, and so many people in there, I would not have been where I just was. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the Lyle Thompson interview wouldn't have happened. I mean, everything. Blue Squatch would not be. I mean, just think of how many cool highlights we got, and we captured dads and grandsons and kid. It's amazing, and it all happened because Onondaga was kind enough to invite me in, work with me, and help us get some better equipment so we could really get this show moving and capture it in a way that deserves to be. So, on behalf of all of us at Blue Squatch, which is just being charity, but in case anybody doesn't know, it's we really appreciate Onondaga and would like to extend our gratitude and let everybody know that without Onondaga, we would not be here. And we really do appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that we look forward to continuing our relationship with Blue Squatch.
Yep.
And like you said, we can talk about some stuff offline to see what that relationship looks like, and it will continue. I think our community is safe to say is we look at Blue Squatch as a friend and an ally and somebody who helps. Again, it's about awareness. You bring
Yep.
awareness, and the vehicle and the platform is lacrosse, which is always fun.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
Many Nawa. Do I say that right? Is it Nawae?
Yahweh.
Nawe?
Yeah.
Were you gonna say many
Nyawa.
Nyawas?
Yes, many Nyawas.
Yeah,
I've
Yahweh.
been hanging out with them Senecas a lot. Many Nyawas.
Many Yahwehs.
That
Yo.
yeah, that is where I was for right before I
Yeah,
gave home.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
All right, Greg, thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you.
And Tonawanda setting up the offense, working the ball around. Nice. Oh, feed, and what a goal. Break, he shot with the shot, misses just wide to the right. Bounces out, rebounds picked up, and now we've got numbers going the other way. A 2-on-1 turns into a little breakaway, and what a goal. Throws it back to him, he rips the shot, misses just wide. It was Gray on the shot. Steps in like he's gonna shoot. Oh, and a goal. And 15 minutes before it started, didn't quite expect it because of the caps lock. Oh, he's all alone. Oh my goodness, what a save. And Gates with it. Oh, tries to throw it over, not able to connect. 45 picks it up, hits Gates on the back door, who wisely holds on to it, tries to hit his man going through. What a beautiful slide. He has time and space in the middle. If he can get it, he cannot. Beautiful slide with the defense, but Wayne Abrams comes up big. 13 on the shot. Nice save by Abrams. The ball bounces out. Still up for grabs. Nice pick up there. Ball gets it, hits his man on the back door. He's got time and space, and Abrams not able to stop that one. They're coming down. Gates Abrams, beautiful feed, and what a play. Tonawanda, and here they come. Nice pass. Oh, beautiful shot, kick save, and a beaut. He gets just enough of that one. Out on the floor, that's Gates Abrams up top. Running in, I don't have a name for him. A beautiful bounce shot, and as they say, kids, bounce. Going to work, he comes around again, and again. Wow, this is around the top, giving their shooters a great angle. Mabry's got two. Oh, what a stick check. With it, and now, he gets a handle on it though. Wisely, nice little fake shot. The goalie got just enough of that one on his jersey. Loose ball. Tonawanda putting a ton of pressure on, and it pays off again. And here they come. We've got Nick Gray with the ball. '89 rips it. Oh, nice stick check, but he somehow was able to get the ball in front, and a beautiful, as I see the helmets, a nice shot, and it trickles out. Hits his man, and he's got a breakaway. Cam Seneca putting the pressure. That was Mike Smoke on the defense. A beautiful play, Mike Smoke. Oh, all alone, and what a save, Wayne Abrams. Getting a little rough in front. Abrams, what a dunk. Oh, I alone again. This time without the pressure, and he's able to beat. Huge shout out to our supporters. Unfortunately, we did not get their advertisement top. What a 5-hole save. Wade Abrams it over. And then runs, sprints into the middle. Seneca sets the screen. Oh, what a play and what a goal. Line. Oh, nice pass over to with the moves. And wow. A beautiful place. You guys can just let us know. Thank you very much. It was a Crafty Beach who let us know we had no sound. She's usually a big part in a nice loose. We've got a breakaway. Golick with it. And this time, he cannot beat him again, but a nice rebound pickup, and they bury that one. Sorry. I've been calling you by the wrong name. My bad, bud. I will get better at this. I promise as we go on with the season. Nice pass across. Beautiful save. Kind of gets tackled into the... Zach Terry with it, throws it over to Johnson. Johnson with the shot. Oh, what a pickup, Terry. Oh, my goodness. Wow, that was just... Warriors come up with it. That was Bomberry. Bomberry throws it up. Loses the ball. Beautiful. I'm going to give Papa credit for knocking that one out. Could have just been a misplay, but they're going to call a push, and they're going to give the ball to the Warriors. That's Henry. Was 9. Oh! Abrams with it. Throws it to Seneca. Cam Seneca rips it. What a rocket, Cam Seneca. Looking, he's got a couple guys cutting through the middle. Nice play. Oh, my goodness, again, but this time he is shut down out front, but they cannot shut down of the second period. Oh, what a play. Oh, that would have been so pretty. Around to the top, throws it up to Cam Seneca. Seneca with it. Seneca gets a screen from Abrams. Seneca steps in and a beautiful bouncer. Cam Seneca. My goodness.
Full game highlights are posted on our page. You guys can watch them. Thanks everybody so much for watching. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten. If you'd like to become a member, basically buy Blue Squatch a drink once a month for $3 a month. We've got memberships that really help support the channel. Thanks everybody. Please support Can-Am and all the sponsors as well, and we'll see you next week.